Hey guys, Chrono here. So since none of you decided to suggest a game for me, with the exception of some of my clanmates on Discord, I decided to do some random stupid indie game. So I decided to do FTL, and I hate FTL. Actually, I take that back. I hate that I love FTL. I keep it uninstalled so that I can't play it, because if I did, I would just put many hours into it. So what is FTL? FTL is this sci-fi ship simulator thing where you have to manage a crew and get from one side of the galaxy to the other before the rebels can catch up with you. Along the way, you have to collect resources and upgrades in the form of new technology, new crewmates, and you have to, both survive and power up, because at the end of the game, there's this super hard boss. It is notoriously difficult. I won't give away what it is just in case you ever decide to play the game and be surprised with it, but it is insanely hard. So you have to find a way to survive and thrive in a randomly generated galaxy. And the random number generator is just evil. I've had runs where it'll just kill me on the first warp because I don't have the supplies required to stay alive. I don't have the missiles, I don't have the drones, I don't have the weapons. So they put me against this super hard first ship, and I just die instantly. That happens. It's not impossible because it's completely random. And if you happen to die on one of your runs, this game is what's called a roguelike, and I know some of you might not have heard that before, but it's a fairly common video game mechanic. A roguelike is a game where if you die in the run, then your run starts over from the beginning. So if you make it all the way to the final sector, right, and you die, then you are sent all the way back to the start with none of your upgrades, none of your technology, and you have to do it again. And that frustration of being just so close to being able to beat the game and having to start completely over is what keeps you playing, because you're like, oh, okay, next time I can do better. And there are like achievements and stuff that will, I guess, survive if you start over. You keep all the achievements, and if you earn 3 achievements for one ship, then you unlock a new ship. But other than that, you have to start over with one of the basic ships. And sometimes if you've gotten like a crew teleporter or something like that, then it's really demoralizing to lose. One of the best things about FTL, in my opinion, is the writing. There used to be a genre of games where you had to read to play them, and FTL kind of does that. Every time you warp into a system, you're met with an encounter. An encounter sometimes results in a fight, sometimes it results in something that you can diplomatize. But the writing in it is just so good. There are references, there are characters, it's amazing. It's just something that you kind of have to experience, and you can see some of the dialogue in the background. I try not to skip over it too fast so that you can have a chance to read, but I'm sorry if like English isn't your first language and it takes you a minute. You might want to pause and read the dialogue, because the dialogue is really good. And one of the things that FTL does is that you can have modifications to your ships that actually affect the dialogue, right? So if you've got a long-range scanner, which you can use to scan your entire sector for enemies and loot and all that kind of stuff. If you've got a long-range scanner and you come across the encounter where there's like an asteroid field to explore, your options are to go in with just fly in yourself in the ship, or you can shoot missiles at the asteroids to kind of clear them out, or you can use the long-range scanner to scan for things inside the asteroid field. The first 2 options will damage your ship, or you will spend missiles and get not a lot in return. But the third option, using the scanner, is completely free of harm, just so long as you actually have it installed on your ship. It's a really creative and complex mechanic that just ties in so well to the gameplay. Speaking of the gameplay is fantastically simple. You can pause at any time by pressing the spacebar, and that seems kind of overpowered because you can just kind of spam it and think about what you want to do. But if you're in a situation where you've got missiles firing, it's just systems going offline, and your oxygen's down, and the medbay's failing, and your crew's trying to put out a fire, and there's a hole in your ship, you might want to pause and take a minute to think about what's happening, because in all honesty, from what I just described, it sounds like everything's on fire and you're going to die. And lastly, before I go, I want to talk very briefly about the soundtrack, because the soundtrack, put simply, is kind of amazing. It captures just space really well. And one of the things that I am particularly fond of is that if you're in battle, the music will be the same track as when you're out of battle, except with a different beat to it. So I'll leave the rest of the gameplay up, but you can kind of listen to the music, you can see what the dialogue options are, how the combat goes. It's a little intimidating. actually, it's a lot intimidating, so you might have to look up some tutorials if you decide to get the game, but once you understand the basic mechanics, it is such a joy to play. It is addicting, it is frustrating, it makes me want to kill things, but it's just a fantastic game. And if you were one of those people who have one of those power fantasies where you just want to command every aspect of a ship, like all power to weapons or divert power to forward shields, then this is the game for you, because that's exactly what you're doing for most of it. So if you've enjoyed my content, please like, subscribe, share the video, whatever. Share whatever you like, I don't particularly care. Also, please leave a suggestion for what game I should do next week. I will leave a screenshot of all of my games in the description. You can check those out, pick one at random, and I will do it. If not, I will probably do something AAA next week, because I did something indie this week, so might as well go big next week. I'm thinking Black Ops, but I don't know. I want to play more with the mods that came out before I make any kind of review on that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.